Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the first podcast here in the studio. I'm here with my friend, Matt. It's such a pleasure and honor to be here with you. My first guest, Matt Reece, he has a lot of experience doing agroforestry, planting a lot of bananas, a lot of mangoes. He could tell you a lot about it, and I want to get into it with him today and just share with you guys all people who really try to live off the land and really do it and live it day to day and try to show you guys how to integrate it into your own lives and empower yourselves. So the goal is to phase out the system, empower ourselves, and to grow food at home.
Our potential, it's exponential.
So I'm here with Matt. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Heck
by the way.
yeah, for
It's
sure.
Good to see you.
Thanks for coming, man. I wanna ask you to start. How'd you get into this, growing food at home?
So I got into this, I don't know, about 10, 15 years ago. I learned about permaculture on the internet and was really excited. I didn't have anywhere to plant anything until a few years later. We moved to Southwest Florida.
When was that?
About 2010. And we
Cool.
bought our first house.
From where?
I moved around a lot.
Oh, okay.
Before that, we were living, I was living in the Bahamas. My wife was living in St. Kitts in the Caribbean. She was in vet school. And then we went to Missouri for a year. And then we came back to Florida, where she's from.
Amazing.
And before that,
Southwest Florida.
Yeah. But I moved all around Florida. I've lived and worked in the Caribbean quite a bit. And finally landed somewhere. Finally got a home.
So 2010. So you landed. Your first home? Did you plant? Like what got you into?
Oh, yeah.
Who was really inspiring you? What'd you put in the ground?
I did all the things. So I was that guy outside in the yard when it was raining and the neighbors were laughing at me. Just having all the ideas at the same time and starting all the projects and not finishing any of them, and just going after it, trying to catch rainwater, trying to terraform the land, trying to figure out where does a starfruit tree want to be.
Mm-hmm. How was that useful? Like, was that beneficial that you went through all that mistakes and chaos?
Mm-hmm.
You think so?
Oh yeah.
How so?
Because the best way to learn, at least for me, the best way to learn is to do. And the mistakes are the most informative. And it's nice if you can learn from other people's mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
But we were talking about this before. When I first got into permaculture and sustainable living, there weren't really that many examples at the time. Fortunately, we had Echo, which you've probably been to Echo before.
They're awesome.
Kind of nearby. So that was a good demonstration site. But like online and in books, there wasn't much out there. And
especially South Florida.
Florida, yeah, because the books are mostly temperate or they're tropical. And so we're in this funny zone. So Florida's a really unique climate. And
so what zone are you? You're 10A?
I'm zone 10A, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so we can grow mangoes well, and we can grow coconuts. And
amazing.
All the fun stuff, the stuff that most of Florida wants to grow, we actually can, like with reasonable,
Amazing. So what do you think about that? I think about that sometimes. Like we go through so much avocados and bananas and all this stuff at Publix. Like, is it really possible we can grow a lot of avocados and bananas and pineapples and stuff in our yards? What do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, part of it depends on, if you're talking about avocados specifically, it depends on your land. Are you in a low spot, a high spot? So there's a context to the location. But yeah, you can grow a lot of food, a lot more than you need.
Yeah.
You can grow a lot more. One thing
what would be the main crops? Like what hits for you?
So you can grow a lot of staple starches, a lot of roots and tubers, sweet potatoes, cassava, malangas, yams, and that list continues. You mentioned bananas. You can grow bananas for starch or for sweet fruit.
Right.
And you can stay full just on that. You could stay full pretty much year round. At least my part of Florida, I can get bananas all year. So if you wanted to just get started within 10 to 12 months, you could be pretty heavy on food. And that's not even getting into annual vegetables,
Mm-hmm. Heck yeah. I love that. So tell me about more of cause I love your spot. You've been there now in Punta Gorda for like 5-6 years.
So that farm, we purchased the original property because it's two lots next to each other. The original 7 acres we acquired in 2015. And so I started planting in 2016 slowly because there was a lot of work to do.
You didn't even have a house there. I remember.
There's still no house there.
Yeah, right.
No water, no power.
I remember going there probably 2019, 2018, sometime in the last 4 years probably at this point. And then when I met you, you were so kind and sweet, first of all, which is amazing. You'll find that with plant people. But second, so much knowledge and so really ripping. Like really, I saw the model and was like, wow, this is what you could do with the space, like with this tight space, and so it got me thinking differently, I guess.
Yeah. So the big takeaway from my property that I try to convey to people, and it doesn't always make it across the table, is that no power, no water. That means a lot. So that means I had to time my plantings, and I had to wait until I had the resources, by resources I mean wood chips mainly, because I went heavy with the wood chips.
Yeah.
And the wood chips was basically a replacement for irrigation for me.
It was a replacement for irrigation.
I still don't have irrigation on my farm.
Incredible. Because I don't have sprinklers either in my place. I plant, it does the trick with you. You water in once with a couple 5-gallon buckets, walk away with mulch.
Yeah. And
that's how it was your experience planting the whole place.
It was. I did have failures. I had things that didn't cruise through the dry season, and I had things that did. So I've had to. It's been an iterative process, and that's why I say I'm still not done planting, because I'm still learning and editing, and then I still have areas that I haven't developed at all.
I love that. And you made that clear for me. Like you said one time, it's like a constant editing process. Mm-hmm. I love that. That's so true, and it's really reiteration, like you said. Mm-hmm. So tell me about that. What's like the main mistakes you've learned that, like, what were those one crops that didn't hit? I guess, what were the ones that really did hit? Like, explain to me what you've learned, like in being at your site.
I've had to learn a lot about my own limitations, because my site's pretty big. It's 7 acres, and I probably have half of it under cultivation now. And I'm 4 acres. For the first several years, I was the only person working on it. So just one person, originally without any machinery. Wow. that was a big thing. I had a wheelbarrow and a pitchfork.
Get out of here. Without a tractor.
I was digging mounds by hand, and then I started renting equipment, and then I started to respect what equipment can do.
Yes.
And
what did that do for you? Like, because I know you work on a lot of projects. Tell me about how much quicker. Like, do you believe in machines? Like, I know a lot of permaculture people say. Yeah,
I can't live without it for the type of work that I do. I mean, I say that in jest. Of course, I could live without it, but
you find a way.
I couldn't be
I did.
The powerful force that I am or could be or will be without diesel tractors and implements. Appropriate technology is what I say. These are tools that can be used for good or they can be used for bad.
Appropriate technology.
It's like it's like talking about guns. Guns are dangerous.
That's a good point.
And depending on whose hands they're in, that's what are the outcomes with that?
Tractors are dangerous. You can go buy that.
Tractor can be a dangerous piece of equipment.
It's a good point. Yeah, because I'm the same way. I just have super similar background. Mm-hmm. I was really convicted and gung ho. I'm going to do it without it. I don't need any resources. Mm-hmm. Machines are an unlock. It really is true. Mm-hmm. If you there's a million mowers, right? What if we, these tractors working on these mulch projects? How much quicker do you get jobs done without machines? Like how?
It's not even fair to compare. It's not fair. I can do a whole project I can have one tractor mulch an entire acre planting, and then have a few guys come and rake it up at the end, and that's it. It's over. Yeah. For the mulching part, and there's, I break projects up into elements. So there's ground prep, there's, soil amending and all that kind of stuff.
So let's talk about first what we're talking about here. It's basically starting growing food at home from scratch is what you're trying to get at. Resilient, regenerative systems, agroforestry specifically. Mm-hmm. Tell me about what Peace River Organics is all about and your mission.
Okay. So yeah, Peace River Organics is the name of my company. I never actually got around to naming my farm, so it just kind of covers everything. And I kept the name really vague on purpose because I do a lot of things. and I like the acronym PRO for pro. Like, so my Instagram is Pro Agroforestry. But yeah, so my company's called Peace River Organics. I have a website, peaceriverorganics.com. I have a YouTube channel, which is older than my business. You can find me there. It's called What's Ripening. That's also another Instagram account that I've had for quite a while. So most people know me by What's Ripening.
That's how I got introduced to you, right?
Yeah.
What's Ripening.
And it's creepy because I feel like I'm like super small on social media, but I've been in I've been in foreign countries and had people go, "What's ripening?"
Let's go.
It happens. It's so weird. It's so weird.
The tropical fruit circle. Yeah.
So my company originally was almost completely design work. I was designing for another edible landscape company. But as I've started to acquire my own equipment and my own clients, I've basically become a turnkey agroforestry site development company. That's probably the biggest part of my company right now. Is
amazing.
We do consultations both on Zoom phone or at my farm. Like we'll do a tour consultation.
Amazing. I love that.
Or on site. So we have
see the fruit,
3 different.
See what you want. What's your...
And so...
Wait, I'm sorry, I cut you off. So you're saying Zoom on site and then on their site? Was that the third?
Yeah.
Got you, cool.
So, there was a time where there was too many, and I had to slow down on social media and slow down on appointments. So I started just doing phone call Zoom just to slow it down a little bit. Now I do private tour consultations. So the best thing is to show them. The demonstration, and my farm is really, it's my resume. This is the latest of what I know, other than the new project. It's my showroom. So you can come to my farm and say, okay, well, this is a food forest style. This is an agroforestry style. This is a agroforestry grove, which by that I mean there's a main, it's mango. Crop. This is a mango block versus this is one that's a mixed species. So I do the consultations. For a while, I was doing a lot of design work, but what I've realized is that design is really personal, especially for a homestead.
It's true.
And I find that me consulting one time and writing up a design is not the way to go, in my opinion, especially for a larger site. What I would rather do, and what I propose to most people now is an ongoing consultation and a phase-wise approach to what to do next.
I was talking to someone about this, right? Right, like seeing what's next? Where do you source?
Yeah, so originally it would be that site assessment and understanding what they want.
Yeah.
And then, a lot of times phase 1 is the windbreak. And the nice thing about a windbreak is it's just the perimeter. You're not making any of the decisions for them in the middle of the property. So they still have time to dream, and they have time to move into the property and observe things while you're making progress for them.
It makes sense.
And then the next thing, and a lot of my clients are in the middle of building a house or getting ready to build a house, or they don't have a well yet. So a lot of times we'll do an initial consultation, and then there might be a 6-month gap before we even do anything.
Yeah.
The one in LaBelle that I was at this morning, that original consultation was in 2019. We did the windbreak in the next summer, and then we just did their grove last year in the fall.
Amazing.
Because of life. Life happens for them mostly. It was, the wife.
I get it.
The wife went through a bout of cancer. They were trying to move their business. They've had all these, setbacks in this.
Right.
But the benefit is they had longer to observe the site. And, we put that windbreak in ahead of time, and it was 1.5 years old by the time we planted their grove. And the good news is if you go on my YouTube channel, one of my most recent videos is a catch up on that site.
Cool.
That site cruised through mid to high 20s, 26, 27 degrees, 2 nights in a row. We have mangoes, coconuts, sapodillas, avocados, no losses.
Wow.
0. Because of the planting, we had protective plantings around it, and we had irrigation that ran all night, and we had a windbreak.
The irrigation and windbreak.
And I know of
protective
farms
plants
nearby that had almost complete loss.
Nearby.
Because the thing is, people get brave. So we have a few warm winters and everyone gets brave and everyone starts planting.
Andy talks about
everything. Yeah. And so even like on the way to this farm, there's like 2 or 3 new mango groves. And I drove by one of them today and like there's only like 25% of them still there because they all got burned down. They got beat down.
And they don't have supports.
They didn't do any, they just planted them in the grass.
Yeah.
You know, so what I'm starting to be able to show now is why what I do matters. You know, why these things have an impact.
So why does it matter? Why does it matter? Like, tell them about citrus and all these. They can do the same thing with mango. Like, why does how you grow matter?
It matters because, you know, so with agroforestry, you can improve the conditions over time. And depending on the crop, you know, each crop has its own life cycle. A mango tree, for instance, you plant a mango tree, you're not even expecting really to get mangoes for several years, right? And then it's going to peak in production by like year 10 through 20, let's just say as a general. It takes a while to get to that point. And if you plant a small tree in the middle of a field that was just compacted cattle pasture versus planting it into a system where it's been amended and mulched and cared for, and it's had supporting species that have shaded it while it was young, you know, when it was tender to frost and all that kind of stuff, it makes a big difference.
Totally.
It makes a big difference. On my farm, I had the same, a similar effect, and I don't have the irrigation, but I do have taller plants above my trees. And, you know, we had 2 cold nights too, not quite that cold at my farm, but I didn't have any frost damage.
Your jackfruits and all that?
Wow. None. I had
close to the water.
I had a few banana leaves that got brown, but I should have had damage.
Wow.
You know.
Totally.
But having the plants nearby, it buffers the environment. And actually bananas. So interesting thing, and we had another consultant on a big project that we did up in Bradenton. And his comment when he came into this was like a year and a half after we planted, he's like, you can feel, he's like, the air feels different near these bananas. He was talking, he was noticing that the air felt moister and like warmer. And if you think about what a banana, it's basically a standing bucket of water. It's a huge water tank. So,
totally.
You know,
it's all water.
It's this big buffer for the temperature. And so having bananas planted in between your fruit trees.
Wait, explain that to people. Because water takes longer to change temperature.
It's a heat sink.
For that night it frosts. Amazing.
It's the same thing as if you compare the fluctuations in temperature on a humid night or a dry night, or close to the coast or close to or further away from the coast, how much the temperature swings based on humidity. So humidity is one, and then just the mass of the water, whether it be the ocean or a banana or a barrel of water. You've probably seen where
David
people put barrels of waters in their
the loquat. Yeah.
It's the same thing.
But
it's a living thing.
I love that.
One of the things that I have to do a lot with new clients is get them to slow down, because the first thing I usually hear on the phone or in an email is, "Hey, I bought this many trees. I need you to point out where I should put them." And
tomorrow.
Yeah, I already have them, and they're drying out.
Yeah.
We need to figure out where to put them, And we might be months away from the appropriate time, first of all, for the season, but second of all, the ground might not be prepared. It might be too low, and if you plant them, they're going to die anyway. And I've come onto projects where the client already had planted things and they had already failed, and there's just getting things out of place.
Yeah.
So preparing the land, dealing with whatever ground cover is already there, whether that be removing it or tilling it in or suffocating, layering it with mulch and newspaper or whatever the methodology may be, depending on the scale.
I think that's a great point.
That's
number
matters.
one. That's number one. I think you're right. Like, especially in the tropics, you got to drown out the weeds. I think you're right. People don't take that seriously on the people who are not familiar, like, with growing, right? Like, a lot of us aren't. We don't grow up with it.
Yeah.
They have no idea. The grasses come in hot. They're overwhelmed. Yeah.
Especially now.
It's so true. What are like the main supports that you love, like, for keeping that canopy, protecting from the cold? I know a lot of people have that issue. And also just amazing chop and drop all around nitrogen fixers. Like, what do you plant? So my powerhouse plants for my context in my zone, number one is Corymbia trilliana, which is like a eucalyptus. We call it an emergent Sure.
species. It grows straight as an arrow up in the air.
How long do you keep that in the system?
About 5 years.
Gotcha.
I just cut out my oldest ones
Wow.
this like last week. That one, it's easy to rip the stems off. It resprouts. It's just like, it's a dream, you know, and you can use it as a trellis if you want to. Another one is ice cream bean, Inga.
I was thinking that.
Dark green leaves, doesn't matter what time of the year. You can tell it's a nitrogen fixing tree because it's just dark no matter where it is. It's got that deep dark green.
I love that.
Pigeon pea is another one, shorter but similar function, shorter life cycle. We use castor bean actually.
Got you.
And so the castor bean, I'm almost hesitant to mention because it'll make a lot of seeds and it'll spread all over the place.
Understood.
So, and there's a whole category of these very useful plants that I am a little hesitant to suggest to other people until they really understand what they are. But the castor bean, what it's used for typically, like in a syntropic style agroforestry system, is it's a very fast emergent species. It puts a little canopy over your little baby seedling, and it puts a lot of hormones and stimulation into the soil because it's so fast growing. It's doing so much. When you cut that back, it stimulates everything else to pulse up behind it, and it really is the way shower. It's like way ahead of everybody else, and
you cut it back, and then you put it in the system.
You cut it back,
get it out of there.
It's only there for 6 months or whatever it is. It's just, and that part of it is, you know, understanding that, you know, this is not a landscape. This is not, you know, it's not a forever thing. We're working with systems that are dynamic and they progress, and so things are going to come and go. Yeah. So the mango starts as a 1 foot tall seedling. It ends up being gigantic, or it can be if you want it to be. There's a lot that can happen in between those two time spots.
Yeah. And the system looks different at any different one of those stages, right?
Yeah. So like on my YouTube channel, go back and look at my way old videos and then kind of skip forward to two years and skip forward 2 years, and you'll see it's a big difference.
We're going to be under the canopy soon.
Yeah. And I'm working bananas out of my system now.
Wow.
And so, you know, my business has kind of developed around site development for other clients. You know, we have this ongoing consultation. We'll do the planning and development, and then now we have a maintenance team, a maintenance crew that we kind of have these maintenance programs going on.
Amazing. In your systems.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then a necessary brother to that is a nursery. Like,
yes.
Like, especially if, you know, we've talked about some of the species that I use. Most of those, either you have to go to a whole separate nursery to get that one thing, or you have to go
1000%.
find the seed for the other thing. So now I've started propagating in mass. The ones that I use a lot, pigeon peas and Ingas and stuff, I'll do tree pot trays of them so I can plug in 50 at a time or whatever. So the nursery's been another one. Then there's and that also goes with having a farm. I have propagation material coming out of my ears.
Yes.
So, you know, and we can go way into like, the abundance of, you know, starting with one banana pup and then where that takes you. I'm still,
tell them.
So I'll give you the example of the dwarf Namois banana. I'm going to give a shout out to Matt Rollins in Fort Myers. He's the original guy that I got the dwarf Namois banana pup from.
Epic.
In like 2013 or something.
Wow.
I planted it at my house. Started pulling the pups. We bought the property, like I said, in 2015. I didn't start planting until 2016. I planted a series of 10 in a row. I had it other places too.
From that plant?
From that original plant.
Amazing.
I've sold them online.
How many have you sold? I was thinking that question before you even said that.
Got to be over 1,000. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
And I've sold them anywhere from $10 to $35.
Yes.
Depending on the market, depending on the variety. I've sold them to Alaska. I've sold them in the mail. I've had people come and buy pickup truck, sagging pickup truck loads of banana pups off my farm repeatedly.
Wow.
And now that I have my nursery set up, I'm potting them and selling them as potted plants too. But one pup, I don't care how much that pup cost. It was worth it. I only needed to take one pup off to make it pay for itself.
Yes, talk about ROI.
And I did that, a long time ago. So
wow.
So I always talk to people about this idea of having a well-diversified plant folio.
I love that. You need your short term and your long term. I have to say the same thing.
Yeah, and so my nursery, and because I've never got
That's
heavy into the
amazing.
annuals, but my nursery is primarily composed of bananas, which I
Yes.
propagate from my farm, pineapples, which I propagate from my farm, bamboo from my farm,
Amazing.
some perennial vegetables, and then a lot of support species. And then if, I'm getting into other things too, but that's what I have right
Cool.
now. It's infinite. It goes on and on and on and on.
Now tell me, do you sell to the public? Is there some like?
I
where
do. It's kind of a running joke. I keep, I've got a couple guys that work for me now, and we propagate, and we've really been making an effort to grow out this nursery, and I intend to do that more. And every time I get a little uncomfortable that the nursery is getting full and I need to have a plant sale, inevitably someone calls up, "Hey, you got any plants?" And they'll come, and I keep thinking they're going to come buy 1 or 2 plants, and they'll show up with a trailer. And I've had this happen like every 2-week increment. It seems like for like 3 times in a row
You just
recently.
keep propagating them.
And they'll come and buy a whole trailer load of plants, and they'll just walk off with half my bananas and a third of my
Amazing.
bamboo. And I'm like, okay,
That's how it works.
plant sales off.
Yeah.
But typically it's by appointment. Yes, people
Cool.
will contact me. They'll
For
reach
sure.
out and they'll say, "Hey, I saw you had this in a video. Do you have that now? Can I buy that? Or can I order it? Or
I
can
love that.
can I get some of that?" So
Yes.
yeah, we do that. And then we also
Amazing.
we produce food as well. Mangoes, bananas, sugarcane, pineapples, jackfruit, coconuts,
When it's in season.
seasonally. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yep. And so we're coming into my mango season right now.
Amazing.
Our season's a little bit later than your season over here on the East Coast. So we have to watch you guys enjoy your mangoes for like a month ahead of us.
Right now it's hitting for you. It's about to hit.
It's just
hitting.
barely started.
Just
for me.
really, yeah.
Like I'm
It's
eating
just hit.
like PPK, like the lemon meringue is like an early variety. I'm just now eating them now.
Thank
it's
you
at the
for
end of
those,
the
by the
June.
way. Shout out, Matt gave me some of those, by the way. One of the first ones.
Yeah. So yeah, this is going to be a late season. So most of it's going to happen through
Cool.
July, August, and you guys will probably be tapering out while we're,
Yes.
which is a good thing. It's
And that-
cool to have some variation across
And
the
not,
state.
yeah, totally. I love that. I'm going to come over there.
Mhm.
That's a good move.
Exactly.
So Matt, tell me, I want to get into, because we're getting into the technicals. I want to talk more about the why. Like, why did you get into it? Like you saw your YouTube videos and stuff. Like, you're a sweet guy. Why is someone like me into the growing food? Like, why? If I ask myself that, like, why did you get into it at all in the first place? And what motivates you today?
Originally, so my background going way back, engineering, coastal engineering, surveying.
Wow.
So when I came out of
Surveying.
college, I was doing coastal development projects and some coastal restoration projects. So beach renourishments, but we also did like cruise ship terminals. We did private island developments. We did large like yacht marinas all over the Caribbean.
Dredging and all that.
And I saw a lot of destruction. I saw like,
Destruction.
I saw a mangrove island turn into a cruise ship destination. I saw beautiful reef removed so that the expansion of the pier could happen. I saw all that stuff. And, I didn't feel that good. It was a fun working environment. I got to travel.
You're an
got to
engineer.
do all the cool things, got paid well. It was a super awesome
Right,
career,
right.
but the end result
Interesting.
wasn't what felt good for me.
Interesting.
And I ended up going into a grad school program, and they had a sustainable engineering certificate program at the school I was in. So I got to get a peek into that, and that's actually when I got into the permaculture videos online. And
cool.
I just wanted to have a more positive impact. I wanted to have my legacy be beneficial instead of being a degradation. Or at least in my mind, a degradation. You know what I mean?
It's powerful.
So,
yeah.
That was
I love
a big
that.
thing for me.
Wow. I feel the same way. And the closer I get into it too, that's super powerful. Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
The closer I get into that, it's like, it is creation or destruction or, like impact, like positive impact, as you said, or degradation.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. And then the why I do it now is because the demand is there.
Wow.
I can't get the phone to stop, can't get the emails to stop.
People want those banana puffs.
People want the plants. They want to learn.
Sure.
And they want services. There's room. I tell people there's room in this, if you want to call it
100%.
an industry, there's so much room for people to provide services in this space, whether it be
I love that.
market gardens, it could be growing fruit trees, it could be landscaping, it can be
Tinctures.
it could be value adding any of the products that you grow. It can be a lot of things. It can be media, it can be any number of things, and there's so much room. And I feel like this responsibility because I have a certain skill set, and I found a way to use it, and now I've invested in equipment, and I have all the things. So why not put them to good use?
I love that, man.
So that's where I find myself.
Cool. Cool, man. I agree. And by the way, that's the truth. There's room for everybody. And that's why I had you here. It's like collaboration.
Yeah.
There's room for all of us. And not only that, like for all of us to thrive and crush it and really bring a lot of value to a lot of people and to each other.
Yeah, for sure.
Heck yeah. But hey, I want to ask one more thing before we get off. Like agroforestry development, site development.
Mm-hmm.
You're a pro at it, clearly. It's where it's at. It's the future. What's your thoughts on, there's developers, there's all these like different people with different intentions, different goals with our land here in Florida. Do you think there's a space for this? Like creating, I guess, developments with agroforestry integrated into it somehow with old citrus land. Like, what do you think about that? Are you optimistic at all, that all moving forward? What do you think?
I am. I think there's a couple of ways to approach it. You can, if it's going to be converted to residential land, you can treat the people as like one of the plants. You're trying to improve the conditions for the plant. If you can just improve the conditions for the people on the site, if you can develop a site to where it's more comfortable, there's a couple of shade trees, there's some fruit growing, maybe a windbreak or whatever around the whole neighborhood, maybe a few ponds, so it changes the topography and the drainage and stuff like that.
And the setup for the land.
Mm-hmm. That's in like terraforming the land and kind of organizing it that makes sense. Maybe having a central garden that that everyone shares and that everyone has their backyard that's like their food forest, or however it could be a community grow. It could be done a lot of different ways. So one way would be residential, improving the conditions for the people that live there. Another way, which I'm also kind of halfway obsessed with, is we need real financial models for farmers. We need real regenerative agriculture.
Love that.
In this state. And
for farmers.
Yeah.
For outside of the residential.
There's a lot of agriculture land, and from what I understand, there's a lot of this land that can't be developed. It's been, I don't know exactly all
zoned
it's been either zoned or legislated to where it has to stay what it is now, meaning agriculture.
Right.
And so there's an opportunity, where that land can't be used for something else. Why not convert it to, a productive system? The big challenge, as you probably know, is, appropriate technology, labor, and the cost has to be right. Either you have to be able to have a high value crop, or you have to be able to systemize it to where it's doable.
Because a lot of land people, they go towards sod, they go towards all this crazy stuff because it's just automatic money. What if we showed how this could be profitable?
Yep.
Bananas and all this stuff, and that's amazing.
Yeah, and there are a few crops that have a lot of potential. There's a few that really need a lot of help but have potential. There's
like what?
You can go, well, I've had a lot of conversations like this. I don't know exactly what direction to go, but let's say you were next to a facility that makes mulch, and they just had an unlimited supply of mulch, because like in my county, it all goes to the dump.
Yeah. Right.
What if there was another site where it went to?
I love that.
And this is actually a conversation I had with another client. He was going to buy into this property, and he was going to have a farm right next to it where he was just shuttling the mulch over, and he was going to grow commercial bamboo, commercial bananas, commercial whatever. At a commercial scale is what I mean, not commercial, but at scale, using the resource that would be right adjacent. But that requires that resource. So
sure.
That's one way to approach it, using an input that is beneficial. But what I'm really most interested in is creating systems that generate themselves,
that build them,
which is more complicated. It's harder.
Yes.
So it takes a different time scale. It takes a different different mind for it. But
different time scale, different mind for it. I think that's for the next time, Matt.
Yeah.
Matt, it's been a pleasure, man.
Hey, man, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say to the people out there about growing insights from Matt Reece?
I think for the people that are new, because there's a lot of new people in this state, I would really encourage you guys to look for the sites in your area that are ahead of you. Look to Farmer Jack, look to Echo, look at these places that are already here, that have already learned a lot of hard lessons. Search us out on, I've got YouTube, you've got all kinds of different outlets. Soak up as much as you can. Get involved with your local communities if there is one. If there's not, maybe you should get that going and share and learn and, just press forward,
Matt, I appreciate you, man. I'll see you next time.
All right,
Heck yeah.